Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the weekly Q&A webinar. This is a great opportunity, if you haven't done so, to reach out and ask any questions you want directly, kind of have a conversation, and an opportunity outside of the Facebook group for the community to get together. So I'm really excited to have everybody here. We've already got some questions popping in. And while I go over a few introductory notes, if you have a question, right below the video, if you scroll down a little bit, there's an opportunity to create and post a question, and I can just make my way through that list. And the really great thing about this whole process is that when you watch the replay, or if you're watching the replay, below the video, you've got the index of all the questions that have come in, and by clicking on that question, you can jump directly to that relevant part of the video. And we've got all the webinars still going through the catch-up process. I think we're into the month of March now, which is really exciting. Down to the end of getting all the old webinars archived and indexed and available for your review. They're all done. Great, that's great news. Thank you, Sarah. Also, big thing going on right now is kind of a Mago University course, if you will. So so if you're on the webinar or you're watching the replay and you're not you haven't gotten through the setup process, you're not using Mago yet, and really the thing that's been holding you back is familiarity, just kind of getting started, knowing where to start. What we've been doing is putting together kind of a training course, just 15 minutes a day, to get you through that entire process. Apologies for having my phone on there. So we've got two questions here. And just going to give you all one more minute to post any of those, anything else you want to hear, that you want to talk about, anything you're curious about. A lot of big changes, by the way, in Mago. One of the most recent deployed features is this drop-down editor. In fact, let me move this over here and take the opportunity to give you a quick tour of that feature. This has really come in as a response to, from the community, from the Mago community, to not only have the ability to create custom drop-down values that we have been able to do, I think, from day one. Like if we wanted to add an additional lead source, we can go in here and say, Yelp, if we do any advertising inside of Yelp. These all become available, but also to remove some of the default options as well as edit things as they change. To access this, in the top right menu of the screen, we have one new item that you'll see: Edit Drop-Down Items. Doing that brings up an accordion list of all the different drop-down types that you have right now. So we have our lead source, our audience type, our event type, our company record type. You can go in here if you want to edit one of these items. It's a simple case to do exactly that. Likewise, if you want to delete something, just click the delete icon and it disappears. And finally, if you want to add a new item, just like everywhere else in the system, clicking the add icon brings up the opportunity to create one in whatever category you're looking at. So I have audience type loaded here in the accordion, and so creating an item here would be a new drop-down type. Save that, and we're ready to go. So that's really in a nutshell, the summary of that feature. You can go in, that's live, you're able to use that. One more update on the inbound email function. We're about 90% ready to roll that out right now. The big difference is, the big thing stopping us is just some issues we found with how Gmail manages the OAuth keys, or the OAuth tokens rather, that occasionally for reasons that I don't understand, and nobody really in the community understands, that very occasionally Google will just revoke that access. So we're trying to work through that process and figure out whatever that kink is, so that your experience as you use this will go smoothly. So if you're using it in the beta, you might notice that it turns on and off from time to time. That feature still is in beta, and And so what that means is that you're kind of in the early stages testing it, and we're just trying to find all the little corner cases and quirks that might cause an issue. Now, Tim, that might be the case because you're that's Chicago, Tim, right? That I'm talking to. It might be a case that you're might be a quirk of coming from the might be a quirk from coming from Showbiz CRM. There's a little anybody who was in the Showbiz CRM period, every now and again we might find some kind of little quirk because Showbiz CRM was a little more lax in how it managed data. So I'll make a note to track that. Actually, Sarah, you're on the call. Would you would you create a ticket for Tim, and we'll get him squared away after the webinar here. Awesome, thank you. And looks like it's light on questions today, but no worries. Is there a way to see who the emails are going out to or available? Yeah, okay, great. So, well, Tim is actually the, hey, Gene, thank you for commenting. Tim was actually the, I think he's the oldest non-me user of Showbiz and Mago. And I know that because Tim is the only person who has a non-email address account code for the billing system. So Tim is the you're the, I don't know what the word is, but whatever it is you are, and kind of a founding member of this whole thing. So I'm grateful to you, and yeah. So it could be some quirk with that, but that's good to know, Gene. Like I said, we're going to create a ticket for that, and we'll get it squared away. As to when you're emailing the secondary contact, that's one other feature that's in the pipeline here soon. Bringing all of the email communication in and putting that in history, it's becoming more and more important to have some capabilities around that. So things that will be deployed in the next week or so will be, among other things, the ability to show more header information in the history. That's more important now that we have that. But also the ability to forward and reply to emails inside of Mago as well. Because now that we're able to link up emails going both out and in, I can see a situation where more and more communication is handled inside of Mago. So having a robust reply feature, a robust forward feature. Also, I know, Tim, you'd mentioned this before, the ability to go in and forward an email in case it needed to go to some other person or they needed another copy of it for whatever reason. So all of that is rolling out, and included with that is the header information in the email history. Right now, it has historically been a little more simplistic of just the subject of the email, but now that we've got all this correspondence, multiple contacts, all these things, it's important to get that all in there. And actually, that covers it. Wow. So any other questions since we've got people on the call? I'm trying to think if there's any other big updates. The other thing, as always, all the updates that are going out, and I don't know if you are familiar with this feature. Let me switch back to the Mago screen. We keep a fairly active change log of everything that has been going on. So here under the change log, we've got the drop-down editor, iconography improvements. You might have noticed this throughout the system that our icons have gotten bigger and clearer. Made a big pass through to make some things consistent as well. So in a couple places, we were using a slightly different edit icon, slightly different delete icon. So the purpose has been to, like I said, to make everything a lot clearer, a lot cleaner, and you'll see that throughout the system, just that all the icons are more useful. What really surprised me was that somebody said that it took them quite a while to realize that this icon right here was actually a save icon. But so making this bigger hopefully makes that a lot more visible. So we've got these iconography improvements, making them bigger, making them clearer. And let's see, we've added some support in the templates for full page documents. So in addition to having a margin for printing your documents, if you want to make something that is designed to take up the entire page, full bleed as it were, you can do that, as well as A4 format if you are in parts of UK, Europe, other countries that use the standard A4 format instead of letter format. So you can switch back and forth those. Some other speed improvements. Oh, the email signatures. I think I mentioned last week. If not, I'll mention that very briefly. If you compose emails, it's now very easy to add a standard signature. Under the top right menu, you can access your profile. And in your profile, there's a new field for setting up your email signature. Now, right now, this is there's just one signature available. At the point that it starts becoming several different signatures, it might as well be several different templates. That we're not really getting any kind of gain on that. But if you want to get a little fancier, you don't necessarily have to use this as just your email signature. You can certainly go and make this into your email stationery in general. So if you want to insert an image that is your letterhead or logo or anything like that, you can put your letterhead in here. You know, I can kind of select all and set the font family to whatever I might use. Tahoma, set my size. So by setting this in here, I now have, here's my email signature with my formatting. When I compose a new email, I not only have this signature, but this whole email stationery that I can use as desired. And this is just a good starting point to, you know, again, to make your whole process a lot smoother, a lot simpler. So that's in there in the recent updates, as well as the form dirty tracking. This is just another coming in from the feedback process, where we can vote for features that occasionally, from time to time, people were, you were typing something and lost track of what you were doing and ended up, browsing off to something else. Now Mago will stop you, and I don't think this is showing on the webinar, but when you try to leave a page that you have unsaved changes on, now Mago will say you have changes that haven't been saved yet, and you have the option to stay or to leave. But the whole list is always available up here. Jumping into the entire changelog, we have much more things here. Email integration, secondary email addresses. This is another important one, especially as we're setting up the automatic inbound email assimilation. If you've got a contact that uses multiple email addresses, now you can set up multiple email addresses with that contact. But we keep track of all the changes that get deployed out here. Try to keep it fairly detailed. There's a few little things that don't always get included. A lot of really minor under the hood things, but this is always a good finger on the pulse way to see where that's at. But I will. Oh, great. We've got more questions coming in here. So the next question we've got here relates to the just keeping track of the under the upcoming gigs. Really, the way that we keep track of contracts that have been signed or haven't been signed, if your process is a signed contract is needed to move the lead from the lead to the gig status. When you send out the contract, it will automatically mark the contract sent field as sent. As long as you're using the e-sign signature, it knows, okay, this is a contract. I'm going to mark this as contract sent. You can also set that up as part of the automation to check this checkbox when you send out the contract. So right here on the dashboard now, I've just checked that checkbox. Right here on the dashboard, we have a contract pending here. If it's a done deal, if this sample event is actually now a gig, all these kind of outstanding things that need to stay on your radar, but don't necessarily clutter things into a lot of clutter anywhere you're looking at. These are all up here in your notifications. So we have here our sample event. It's reminding us here that we have not received a signed contract for the event. Of course, if they e-sign it, this will automatically go away as soon as they do that. If they fax, email, regular mail, whatever, a contract to you, you can click on the item right here to jump to it, or right from this menu, if we haven't got it yet, we can come up with some kind of response, compose an email to chase it up or anything else like that. Likewise, if we're waiting for any payments that have for events that have passed, the event might not appear on the dashboard anymore, but we don't want so we want to keep the dashboard clear so you can stay focused, but we don't want any important things like having not been paid and any important things about not being paid. These stay up here in the notifications. So everything that's pending a contract is going to be in that list. So there's not the dashboard stays fairly clear, but you'll have a whole list up here. You'll have the entire list of anything that's still waiting for a contract. But there's not a dashboard widget or a special field for that, because the only thing I think that has any kind of special recognition, the dashboard is payments. So on the dashboard itself, these are color coded. So green indicates paid in full, red indicates you haven't been paid at all, and this kind of amber color indicates that you've received the deposit, but you haven't received the balance yet. And so at any point in here, you can go and record a deposit, record the payment in full, and update that accordingly. So recording the payment in full marks the payment as received and changes the color there on the dashboard to green. The only other color coding thing on the dashboard, let me move this back to a lead. Gigs that are booked, the convention is fairly consistent. They are this color of green, and if an active lead, just like the title here, it will be black. So you've got, let's see, May. Yeah, so leads are going to be black, and we also use the same iconography in here. And anytime you can jump into one of these and open it up from the calendar as well. So that's how you keep track of the calendar, the contracts that haven't been signed, deposits that have been received and not received, all of that. The deposit status on the dashboard is the color coding here, and then the contracts and then unpaid balances after the gig date is passed are all up here. In addition, this notification box will also remind you that if you're not following up with a potential lead. It's kind of watching the entire process. And if you have a lead that is considered active and you're not doing anything, and you're letting it fall through the cracks, in other words, you haven't sent anything out, you don't have anything scheduled, you haven't sent anything out recently, it's going to appear in the notification bar, in the alert bar, that, hey, you don't have any communication, no recent communication, nothing scheduled. Don't let this one fall through the cracks. So it's another example of how Mago's keeping track of these things to make sure that you're following up regularly and you're maintaining that top of the mind awareness. And the other one that might be a better case for a support ticket, I've actually just been going through in great depth for the folks that actually make the editor. And so we've just renewed our support contract with them. And so any issues you're having, basically, I can escalate that directly to the people who maintain that and find out what's going on there. But if you're pasting from, I think, Microsoft Word, I know there are some features in there that make that whole process a lot smoother. I'm not sure how that works if you're using Pages. One thing that I found works really well if you're trying to migrate from another Mago contract. One thing you can do, there's two things that I'll mention here. If you've got something that you like that you want to use, instead of copying and pasting, it's certainly possible to go in and just duplicate that. So let's say we're looking at a template here, this business card, nice to meet you. If I want to make some kind of variation of this, from the drop down there's a duplicate option. So that avoids the whole copy and paste process. But one thing that will also allow you to copy and paste in a more consistent format, if you're running into issues copying and pasting the source code, I know it's not ideal, but copying and pasting from here and then getting to whatever new template that you're in and doing the paste in there, it's not going to try to do any kind of formatting. It's not going to try to auto format whatever you're pasting into there. But yeah, I don't know. I without knowing more information, I don't think we can really go much further in on this webinar. But if you create a ticket or we can get Sarah to create a ticket on your behalf, we can escalate that up to them. If you're using Safari, I know Safari is a very quirky browser that just doesn't implement standards very well. I don't know. So we can dig deeper into that offline, but we'll see what we can find out. And yep, I think that kind of wraps it up. If we're, watch for more, but yeah, we'll get a ticket sent out for that because I definitely haven't seen that particular issue, and I don't know if you're copying from templates that have been made with earlier versions of that as well, because a lot of times, coming in with brand new technology across the board has generally been pretty good, but occasionally we get into some issues where we're dealing with, like, again, old Showbiz CRM technology. It's one of the reasons that rather than going in and spending a lot of time just trying to make something broken less broken, I made the decision to just throw it all away and start from scratch, just because there were so many things that were weird or broken with Showbiz CRM, and I imagine that was probably one of them. In fact, I'm just curious about this right now. Yeah, I mean, just going through from a new template, I guess I'm not sharing my screen anymore, but just going through in a new template and pasting, it brings in images, it brings in the correct format. So I suspect either the old template that you're pasting into has some quirkiness about it, or what the content that you're actually pasting has some odd quirks about it. But just going through that process, the copy and paste actually works pretty well. So I'll see if I can track that down. But anyway, are there any other questions? Anybody who's on the call? The other thing I would mention is reach out if you want to get on that list for the Mago Mastery in 15 minutes a day. It's just an email with two or three tips or tutorials. To go through all of them will take less than 15 minutes, and it's just a few little points in your day. The other nice thing about that feature or that list is, even if you've been using Mago for quite some time, the chances are you're probably going to see one or two nice things in there too. For now, just go ahead and reach out in here, and I've got the chat here, so I'll reach out with you offline. We'll probably set a form or something up to let you opt into that soon. And Tim, just to kind of speak to that point, so all of the past webinars now have been reviewed, indexed, and they're probably going to be uploaded onto Vimeo or YouTube somewhere in the sometime in the next several days. So that should bring us all up to speed. So got the comments here, and I'll post some more announcements out about the daily tips as well, and appreciate everybody kind of checking in. Thanks very much.